What's up, everybody? We're back.
Yeah! Hey, welcome back to a Metalist Journey. Hey, so we're back. We're back on our journey down to the top 20 lists that we've been working on here. We're on to the new metal list this week. This is number 18. This is System of a Down, and this is their album Mezmerize. Dude, I'm so glad we're on to a good album.
Yeah,
Man, it's been a void of good music here in the last couple of weeks. So, hey, we'll do a quick recap here, or a quick history of the band, and then we'll get right into it. System of a Down, formed in 1994, is an Armenian-American heavy metal band formed in Glendale, California. Since 1997, the band has consisted of founding members Serge Tankin on vocals, Darren Malakian on guitars, Shavo, Not Gonna Give It a Shot on bass, and John Dolmayan on drums, who replaced the original drummer. The band achieved commercial success with the release of 5 studio albums, 3 of which debuted at number 1 on the Billboard charts. System of a Down has been nominated for 4 Grammys, and their song BYOB won a Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Performance in 2006. The band went on hiatus in 2006 and reunited in 2010. Other than 2 new songs that came out in 2020, System of a Down has not released any new material since the Mezmerize Hypnotize double album. Or albums, I guess you could say. The band has sold over 12 million records worldwide, while 2 of their singles, Aerials and Hypnotize, reached number 1 on Billboard's alternative songs charts.
Nice.
Mezmerize, released in 2005, is the band's 4th studio album. The album reached number 1 on the Billboard charts. The album was produced by Rick Rubin, and sold over 2 million records. The album features 2 singles, BYOB and Question.
All right.
No wonder the quality was so good on this album.
This is it.
I mean,
Let's just say Rick Rubin isn't showing up in my MVP votes.
All
Jonah, hop in here, man. Give us, what'd you feel about the record?
All right. Well, I'm going to come in hot. This is one of my favorite albums that I've done with you guys. It's going to be one of my favorite albums of all time, for sure.
Okay.
I think it's a great album.
Are you a big System fan?
I'd say I'm a moderate System fan. I think this album is probably my favorite of theirs. Of all the albums we've done with them, of all the albums we've reviewed together so far, this one is the one that I can safely say I know the best coming into it so far. But
you're saying this is your favorite of all the System records?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
There's no skippers on this album for me. With an asterisk, depending on if I've got like some of my family around, I'm probably skipping Cigaro and probably Violent Pornography also. But otherwise, if I'm listening to it on my own, which, by the way, it's a super breezy listen because it's only 36 minutes long, so chances are I'm listening to it from start to finish, which is great. It's got some really great, unique melodies. Like, I can only presume that they're pulling from their cultural heritage a little bit with some of the musical style and choices that they make. I think it's super unique. I think it's really good. The vocals on this album, my God, they're so good. Serge and Darren, I think they knocked it out of the park. With their particular vocal style. But otherwise, I just think it's really good overall.
Yeah, I love this album as well, right? I mean, look, I'm a big System guy. I've really liked all their albums. I've seen them live a bunch of times. So I think this is a great album. I would have this probably as my 3rd favorite System album. I would have, Toxicity number 1.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And I'd have Steal This Album at number 2. I feel like a lot of people sleep on that record, but man, that record fucking slaps. I love Steal This Album. But Mezmerize is very, very good. To Jonah's point, right, there's a lot of unique melodies on this record. It's so funny, when I was listening to this record again, I was listening to it from the perspective of that dipshit that was in our comment section on the Extreme review where he was like, "Yeah, you don't know the difference between good and you just don't like it." And I was just like, "Yeah, whatever."
Just like that?
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But then I start thinking in my head, what does Sigaro sound like to somebody who maybe isn't like the biggest System of a Down fan, and he's just singing about his big cock walking into the room, And so I started thinking, like, maybe is this our generation's Extreme? I don't know. I started thinking about that through some of the lyrics, right? So, one of the things too that was also different for me for this record from the other System records is I think this was the first one that Darren did like half the singing on, right?
Yes.
Like I feel like this is the first record that they made like that huge shift to not being just Surge.
And almost all the writing.
Yeah. And I remember struggling with that early on because I was like, it took me, so the singing with System of a Down it's still the weak link of the band for me in general. Now, look, I'm not saying like, this is not like, the singer of that hardcore band that Dave made us listen to like a couple weeks ago. I'm just saying of the facets of this band, for me, the singing is still like the weak link. But like only because it took me the longest time to get into the band because of the singing. Like listening to Toxicity whenever it came out, I was like, outside of Chop Suey, I was like, man, what the fuck is this? Like fucking Surge is, I don't know. I didn't get it. It took me a long time to get it, right? And so when I finally got it, I was a big Surge guy. And so like when this album came out, I was like, but wait, why is Darren singing so much? Like he's such a like whiny, nasally, nerd, right? But I mean, we've got to spend about 20 years with this record now. And so over the 20 years, right, it's Darren and it's Surge together. And so it's become something that I really like about the band. Vocally, especially in this record, but early on it was something that was a little hard to swallow. But yeah, now I mean it's still, like I said, I still think it's the weakest part of this thing, but it's not bad.
Yeah,
overall, I love the record.
So I'm also a big System fan. Just like most folks, I got into them with Chop Suey. Bought Toxicity off the strength of that song. And I will say, like Josh, I remember specifically, like, the first couple of spins, I was not into it. And then, maybe a couple weeks later, I because this was back when you just kind of had to buy records, right? We're boomers, right? So I had already spent that, $13.99 on the album. I was gonna get some return on my investment. So
you're like, I better listen to this a couple more times at least.
Yeah, and I was.
Yeah, but then you get to that song where you're like, jump, pogo, 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 pounce, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
I was in high school, so $13.99 back then in 2001. That was. That
like
was
$100 now.
I mean, like I didn't have a job, right? So,
yeah.
So anyway, I got into the band, and I've been in, after getting through that hump initially, I've never looked back. They're probably in my easily top 10, probably top 5 favorite bands of all time. And this album is probably my third favorite from them. But I'm going to completely agree with Jonah and not necessarily disagree with you, Josh, because I know you didn't trash it, but like I think the vocals are the strongest point of the band. They are the reason that I enjoy it so much. And I especially fell in love with the vocals on this record and Hypnotize because I love the interplay between Darren and Surge. The harmonies. I'm gonna get flack for this, but I've thought this since this album first came out. This reminds me of like nu metal meets Beatles in the sense that you get a lot of vocal harmonies throughout the album, and I just think their vocals work so well with each other that it steals the show for me. And obviously, Darren's riffs and the drumming are fantastic. I'm not gonna take anything away from that. But the reason I keep coming back is the vocals. I love this record. I list. This is constantly in my playlist anyway, so it wasn't much to get me to listen to it. For this review, so it was the easiest listen of my life.
Yeah, I was listening to this while we were trying to choke down Fate's Warning. Jason, what you got?
I'm not going to just regurgitate everything that everybody said, but for the most part, I agree in general with each of the three smart individuals before me. It's funny that Dave brought up the Beatles because I was thinking about that earlier today, in the sense of not exactly only in the vocal harmony that kind of goes on, but the fact that there's 11 songs. They average under 3.5 minutes across the board. It's very simplistic. Keep it short. No reason to elongate it and overstay your welcome. I am a pretty decent System fan. I enjoy the I don't know, the uniqueness of the band, and I think that's one thing we had talked about. Some of the other bands, how they age. As you get older, nostalgia, stuff like that. How does it all fit? Set in. And listening to this album again, when I listened to it today for the last time, man, there's some really good songs, and there's just nothing else like System. There's just not,
Yep.
and there's no new bands that sound like this. There's no bands from this era that sound like them. It's so unique, and the fact that you can sing a song about your giant cock walking through the door, and it works for some reason is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun.
Not to harp back on the vocals too much, but I mean, pretty much every single song on this album, I'm singing along to every single time.
Yeah,
every time.
Jason, who you got for your MVP of the record?
It's going to be Darren. The riffs on this album carry it from start to finish. It feels like there's multiple underlying riffs under underlying riffs under underlying riffs. There's riffs that are 15 seconds long that aren't replayed in another part, just underneath a different kind of riff, just so to highlight some crazy lyric that somebody is singing. It's good shit. And the fact that he wrote a lot of this from start to finish is just, that's just a strawberry on top.
Yeah, it's easily Darren. For the longest time, I was like, when I was younger in high school, I was just a diehard Surge because I didn't really understand like the behind the scenes stuff. But honestly, Darren is the heart and soul of System of a Down. I mean, he wrote all the music with the exception of Question, which he co-wrote with Surge, and he either wrote or co-wrote all the lyrics on the album except for Question. So I mean, and he's duo vocalist with Surge. I mean, it's also, which we haven't talked about, but I'll bring it up. I think he played the bass. He recorded the bass on most of the tracks for both of these albums as well. So I mean, I don't know how it can't be Darren at this point.
Yeah. Jonah, Darren Sweet.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm going to give a shout out to Surge because
correct. Yeah.
I just think he's an amazing vocalist overall. And since I can't hit those high notes that Darren does, I'm usually singing Surge's parts anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's Darren Merlikian. It's no contest. Just this is his album, more or less. It's a showcase of his talent specifically, and it's one of my favorites.
It's a Darren Sweet. Vocals are good, but it's more about the riffs and the songwriting for me, for sure on this record.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah, what do you have for best riff?
For best riff, I went with Sad Statue.
Oh, you stole my shit.
The opening riff on Sad Statue, it's fast, it's heavy, it's just so good. Like as soon as it's just the guitar by itself at the beginning. It's just the but then as soon as the rest of the band comes in, it's driving, it's punching, it's so good. That's the best riff on the whole album. So hands down for me.
I'll go next only because I'm not trying to skip anybody, but because I also picked a riff from Sad Statue, and it's actually the closing riff, which is very similar to the opening riff, but it's kind of like where it's not halftime, but it's more of the chugging. It's like dude, that shit is so good. I mean, I love that song. But anyway,
it's a great song.
Dude, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but that's the worst song on the record.
No,
give me a freaking break. Give me a break.
I'm sorry, it is.
You are stupid as fuck.
That is
absolutely that is insane.
The only song I would skip on this record.
You're trolling. That's a troll.
Okay, we'll see when we get down to my fucking cut downs. We'll see. Best riff for me. I'm just gonna simp it out here real quick. I'm just gonna go to the intro to Cigarro. Just a sweet, thrashy little intro right there. Nice little heavy riff. Just like every time that song comes on, dude, it just gets your fucking blood pumping. So love that riff. Go ahead, Jason.
Look, I tried to take notes through each song. In almost 6 of these songs, I have great riff under here, there, but wherever it's at. It was hard to get a favorite, but once again, I'm going with a non-traditional. At the end of Question, after the long scream, there's a gallop riff right at the very end before you get into that last 45 seconds of fucking orgasm. It's my favorite riff. It's not very long. It's about 15 seconds long, but fantastic. Just I love that shit.
Oh, this one where he's riding the opening that
yeah, that's money.
That is a good
one. All right. Fair enough. All right. Jason, give us your top tracks.
This was by far probably the most difficult because I had never in the past really as far as system tried to figure out what songs I actually liked better than other songs. So this was a process. I listened to this album a lot more than I thought I was going to, just to try and get this grouping. But at number 3, I have. Let me make sure I got this right. Yep, "Lost in Hollywood."
It's a great song.
Yep. Number 2, which going into this I thought was going to be my number 1, was "Revenja."
Another great song. Smart man.
And number 1, which I didn't realize until going through this because I'm terrible with remembering names. "Question."
Yep.
I love that song. That's one of the few songs on here where I just sing uncontrollably terribly.
Yeah, for sure. Dave. I'll jump in next.
Oh, go ahead, Jonah.
Oh, sorry, my bad. No, just because I am agreeing with Jason on one song in particular that I want to highlight, but for me as well, this was the hardest top 3 I think I've ever had to do because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs are that because I score my songs individually. 5 of these songs for me are a 9 or higher. So by the slimmest of margins, my number 3 is "Revenja." It's heavy. It's got a great chorus. It's so fun to sing along to.
It is, dude.
The bridge, just so good. And then I went back and forth between my number 1 and number 2, and on a given day I could probably go with either one, but I have to go with what my gut tells me. My number 2 is "Sad Statue." Even though it's the best riff, it takes the number 2 spot because for me, number 1 is also "Question." That song, it's heavy. The vocal melodies. I mean, it might be my favorite System of a Down song of all time.
That clean open into that face melting riff at the start.
Yes. From start to finish, that song is a ride. And even the bass, which you don't really talk about bass on System of a Down very often, with a few exceptions. The bass line is during the verse is. It just the way everything melds and flows together. It's easily my favorite System of a Down song.
All right, I'll jump in next here. My number 3 is "Revenja." You guys are smart. My number 2 is a song that hasn't been named yet. Unsurprisingly, but I really love this song, "Radio Video." I think it's really fucking good. Underappreciated song. And
in my top 5 for sure.
And it's in my top 11. And my number 1 is Sad Statue. That may be my favorite System of a Down song, straight up. I think it's so good. The ending part, like near the end, where Serge is like, "What is in us that?"
Yes.
That whole part. So good. Love that song. Can't get enough of it.
I'm not entirely sure we listen to System of a Down the same way. Man, Dave, if you didn't have this one song in there, I would not have shared any songs with anybody. I got Radio Video number 3, great song, fucking slaps. Number 2, Violent Pornography, dude. Like, how are we skipping Violent Pornography? You guys are.
It's in my top 5 on this album. It's in my
that's my number 4.
I don't skip any song. So
you guys are absolute maroons.
That is my number 4.
Dude, number 1, like
if you say this cocaine, I'm gonna.
Or if you say BYOB, I'm gonna throw up.
I guarantee you. I know you guys are gonna leave this off because you're trying to be cool kids, okay? But it's easily BYO, Old School Hollywood, okay? Old School Hollywood is my favorite song on the album. I don't know.
It's a great song.
It is.
I just like the vibe with it. I know it's a different song. It's kind of ridiculous, but
Tony Danza cuts the line, you know.
Yeah, I just like for the longest time I was like, that's kind of like my favorite riff on the record, but it's just the production of it and how it like comes back into the riff and everything. But I don't know, great song.
The only one with synths on it too.
Yeah. So while we're talking about songs here, let me give you my cut downs. So
can you tell the people why we're doing it? Yeah. My bad, Dave. Hey, my bad, dude. My bad. My bad.
Can you let me work?
I'm so sorry.
As everybody knows in the metal world, 8 songs is really the sweet spot for any great metal record. So we do a little exercise on the show here where we have to cut each album down to 8 songs. So this album's got 3 songs. We got to cut 3, or excuse me, this album's got 11 songs on it, so we got to cut 3 off of this. So these are the 3 that I would cut. Soldier Side. Look, that's just an easy gimme cut. I would not skip that song normally. Sad Statue is it is the worst song on this record, and it is a skipper for me.
You're so funny.
It is, dude. The fact that I had to choke down and listen to Jonah talk about how that's the best riff on the record, what a fucking disgrace. That riff sucks.
Dude,
sucks.
I'm convinced you don't listen to music the same way I do.
Dude, my ears work. Yours don't. And then the only other song I would cut off of here, and listen, I love this song. This was a tough cut for me, but it would be Lost in Hollywood.
Okay, I'm going to go next because you're a moron, and I feel like I need to save this video. So I think it's going to be a Soldier Side intro sweep because we're all bitches, and that was the easiest 1-minute cut of our lives. But I will agree with Josh here. Actually, no, because Josh says it's a skipper. There's no skippers on this album. I love this album from start to finish, and when I listen to it, I listen to it from start to finish, and I enjoy every minute of it. I'm only cutting this for the purposes of this silly thing that we're doing. So, Soldier Side, I would cut Cigarro, and I would cut This Cocaine Makes Me Feel Like I'm on this song.
Okay.
Wow.
Those are stupid cuts.
No, those are not stupid cuts. Those are the 3 shortest songs on the record. So that's kind of my silent protest of cutting those songs. Also, to Jonah's point, if I was playing this album like where my whole family could hear it, I would probably skip Cigarro anyway.
My God.
And This Cocaine... no, well, that's what my kids need to do before they can hear that song. So this
Dave, your kids have heard somebody say cock in their life.
No, I mean, maybe my 14-year-old, but not my 10-year-old.
You don't think 10-year-olds at school are saying cock?
No, I don't. So moving
just
on.
let him live in his denial.
Yeah. All right.
So those are the 3 cuts.
I'll jump in just because my cuts are exactly the same. I don't really have much else to add. However, I will say this. Because Soldier Side is an intro, I don't think it's cheating to just merge it with BYOB and have that just be a longer song. So I don't think you have to completely get rid of it if you just merge it with the first track.
So I thought of that, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Soldier Side also goes, the intro Soldier Side also goes into Soldier Side, the full song.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So it's technically not an intro to... What? Okay. Excuse me?
Anyway, abomination that is hypnotized.
It hypnotizes my favorite System of a Down record.
That's false.
Dude, it is the best System of a Down record.
Oh god.
Is it on the top 20 new metal list?
No, definitely not.
Is it? Actually,
I don't think it is.
Go ahead, Jason.
I'm like 90% certain that it is.
All right, so I do share one of the songs with the other guys. And we all had Soldier Side. It's a good solid intro for what you're about to hear. But at 1 minute, it was like, to Jonah's point, like I felt like I really don't want to give that song a grade because I'm never going to have it on my rotation. But it does qualify as a song. It has lyrics. It's set for itself. The other song I would cut is Old School Hollywood. Not because I don't like the song. I love the song. It just fell where it fell. And then there is just one song on this album that if I was going to have a skipper, this is the only song that I actually do skip from time to time, and that's the This Cocaine.
Yeah. Easily the weakest song on the album for me is This Cocaine.
I would agree, but I still like it.
Yeah, for sure.
I still like it.
And it's short. It's 2 minutes and 9 seconds. I mean, if you're listening to the whole album, it goes by, you enjoy it for what it is.
You don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Your guys' ears, they just don't work. All right. Hey, so we come to the end of the show here. This is where we like to give our score for the record. And just to give you some context on how we score the record here. For a lot of folks out there, a 7 would be an average score. For us, it's a 5. So if the album gets anywhere between a 4.9 down to a 0, that's various levels of we would not recommend the record. Anything between a 5 and a 9, various levels of we would recommend it. Anything 9 and above, that's various levels of great. Jason.
Yes.
Why don't you go first?
All right. I did have some issues grading this album. One, whether or not I should include Soldier Side as far as my grading system goes, the way that I grade scores. Ultimately, it is a song. So I kept it on what we were cutting. But
oh my god! I just got to know, what score did you give it?
Shut the fuck up. That's what I gave it. The problem. What
a fucking nerd.
The problem that I have, honestly, is had I graded this album 5 years ago, it would have been a higher score. And I do think as I get older, while I still enjoy this album, I think I might be getting to a point where I don't like it as much as I used to. So I'm not going to give it a grade as a all-time classic. So it's not getting above a 9. I gave it a 8.8.
Okay.
All right. I'll go. I'm actually kind of shocked by this. I don't know, dude. I still love this record. It still shows up very, very well for me. I know there's 2 other System records that I like more that are actually going to score in the 9s for me, and I couldn't get there for this record to put it into the 9s. I just think there's going to be better records coming down the pipe from other bands that are going to beat this record for me. I'm going to be an 8.6 on this one.
Wow.
All right. Jonah, you go?
Yeah. Funny enough, I actually also gave it exactly an 8.6.
Oh, look at that.
I think is this like back-to-back weeks me and Jonah have had the same score?
I think so, actually. Yeah, no, I mean, I tend to score a little more harshly just because of the way the numbers pan out when I do the math. But so far, this is the highest scoring record that I've reviewed with you guys. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great album from start to finish. No skippers. It's 36 minutes. It's an easy listen. Singing along to every single song. Easy 8.6 for me.
All right.
Hey, but right before you go in, Dave, look, what I want to say is when I say that I might be just getting to a point where this is not as enjoyable as it used to be, this is coming from somebody who's turning 50 this year. Okay, so that it's not like this came along in my prime or something, and I walked into this and stuff like that. This is just me getting older, and I don't know if I enjoy this album as much as I did just say 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have some older people in the comments that are going to make fun of you for that statement anyway.
Oh,
who are going to be like, I'm 65 and I still jam Nile. So anyway, shout out to Nile fans.
Yeah, what a choice that was.
So I need to fully disclose this so you guys know where I'm coming from. Don't worry, Josh. I won't be as long-winded as Jason. So System of a Down has 5 records. I have already rated all of them on my own, and there's only one of them that is under a 9 for me. So I just want everybody to know where I'm coming from. I'm a big time System of a Down fan. So it is what it is. I love this record. It's one of my favorite records of all time. It is going to be in the 9s. I'm disappointed that none of you gentlemen felt brave enough to do it. But that's fine.
I was tempted to, I'll admit, but I wanted to stay true to the system I have in place.
It's already taken longer than me, Dave.
I'm at a 9.4. I think this is one of my favorite records I've ever listened to. And this is the 3rd highest System of a Down record I have. So I have 2 other records that are above this. One of them being Hypnotized. Disgusting. And I'll spoil the Hypnotized score because it's not. We're not going to review it. It's 9.8. I think it's one of the best albums ever made.
I'd have to re-listen to it. I don't even know what song
it's fantastic. And I know for a fact it's Adrian's favorite System of a Down record as well.
That's not helping your case.
I don't care.
No.
I don't care. 9.4 is what it is. Legendary.
It's a great album. It's a great album.
Yeah, I can't criticize because there is a band that is coming up on this list that has 2 albums in the top 10 that I am going to be extremely biased towards.
Linkin Park.
So yeah, it's Linkin Park.
Okay.
When we get to Meteora, I'm gonna have a lot to say about that album.
You're gonna simp so hard,
dude. I mean,
yeah,
it's gonna be
at the scoring very high.
I mean, it's gonna get a high score. I'm telling you right now. And then above that, Hybrid Theory. We'll get to it when we get to it.
So yeah, that puts us as an average of an 8.85.
It's pretty good.
That's really good. That might have taken the title of the highest non-Metallica album that we've reviewed ever on this channel. I'm just taking a cursory glance here. I don't want to take too long. Yes, that easily takes the top spot as the highest non-Metallica album.
Wow, how about that?
It's my highest. Like I said, it's my highest rated so far. So
it's actually just under And Justice for All, and Justice for All is at 8.98. So,
criminal. We couldn't get that to a 9.
I'm looking at some of these.
Doesn't even have My Friend of Misery.
Yeah.
Jason's
score.
No, it was Adrian's score. He had it. He had it at a 7.8.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
What an idiot.
Which one was that?
And Justice for All. Anyway.
Well, hey, if you guys also think Adrian's an idiot, go ahead and hit that like, hit the subscribe. We're putting out weekly metal content right now. We got metal reactions, metal reviews, metal time machines, metal brackets, and all kinds of other cool shit. And hey, in the meantime, live long and prosper.
Take it easy, everybody.
Later.
Peace.